This week we're going to make a series of chairs, and we're going to be using wireframes and sweeps and the pipe command and other things, and practicing using new custom created construction planes and other tools in order to quickly create smaller objects, something smaller in size than what you've been working on so far, but perhaps with some more freeform curvature to it. So to summarize, we're going to be creating a framework that will have we're going to be creating a wireframe that will be the tubular structure of the chair, and we'll be creating a solid, a swept surface that is then thickened to be the seat for the chair. And I'm going to undo a lot of this right now to show you what's underneath that. Right here I have a series of curves that we will create and modify that are the substructure of that curving seat that we'll be creating. There is the pipe solids of the frame itself, and I will now select all the poly surfaces and delete those in order to show the wireframe that's beneath that, that forms the structure that we'll make first in order to then create the framework and then use some of that geometry to create the seat. So in this first video we'll just create the wireframe and make the tube solids that give that three-dimensional solidity. So I'm going to take this away, and I've created a new layer called guard chair. It's a primary layer, so it's not a sub-layer under anything. And in the perspective view, I will probably set the C-plane back to world top, which is where I began all of this. And I'll be using this largely for beginning the construction. So as I've done in the past, I'll start with a point at 0, 0, 0, and I'll make a rectangle that will be 3 feet by 3 feet. And then I'll take that rectangle, I'll turn the gumball off just for visibility, and I'll do an offset of that. I'll just type offset. And I want to offset that inward by a distance of 6 inches or 0.5 feet. You can type in whichever, to create a slightly smaller rectangle, in this case 2 feet by 2 feet. And then with that one highlighted, I'll go to the left-hand view and I will maximize that. And I'm going to move that curve upward by 5 feet. So I'll just use a move command from the endpoint, and I'll go straight up 5 feet. So now I have, if I make this the top view, I have a square within a square. And I've now moved one of them up by 5 feet. And I'm going to use this to start to create, in the perspective view, the part of the framework. So first I'll create, going from endpoint to endpoint, one side of this. 3 sides of this trapezoidal tower will have horizontal bars at the third points. So I'll take each of these and I'll divide the curve by 3 segments. And I'll do the same command again for the other vertical. And so now I have reference points that I can use to draw some more line segments from point to point. And notice that I'm actually drawing in 3-dimensional space. When I'm drawing from known reference points, like these subdivide points, my curves don't end up on the construction plane. So keep in mind that when you start to move different reference geometry off of the construction plane and then have points, midpoints, so subdivision points, endpoints that you can snap to, you can draw in three-dimensional space rather than being stuck on the 2 dimensions of the construction plane. So that's good. I'm going to now take this geometry that I created, and I'm going to array it around 3 sides of this base. Actually, the first thing I'll do is just make another quick diagonal line on the construction plane at the base, which is a reference for me, so that I can pick the midpoint very easily. So next I'm going to select this one side, and I want to have it be repeated around this tower to 3 sides, not just one side. So I will go to the array pullout, and I'll select polar array, and it wants a center point. I'll click on the midpoint of the line that I just created, the diagonal. That gives me a good center point. The number that I want is 3 of these, the original one plus 1 in the back and 1 on the other side. So the number is set to 3. And now it wants to know what angle to fill. So I'll start and I'll turn 90 degrees and I'll come around. And here we have, now I've gone around 180 degrees. I did it by clicking. I could have said 180 degrees. And so now I have the 3 sides of my tower created simply by making the first and rotating around a polar array around this midpoint of the diagonal. I don't need the diagonal. I can delete it. And now I'm going to subdivide the front into different sections so that it's useful as a ladder. So I'll select this front edge, and I'll say divide, and I'll tell it this time to go into 4, which would work, 4 steps. And to repeat the command, I'll just hit I'll hit the return or the space bar. It starts the command again. I select a curve. I hit return. Yes, I want 4, hit return again, and I get the same subdivisions. And now I can go back and create simple line segments from each of these subdivision points to have the tower that is divided by thirds in the back and the 2 sides, and divided into fourths on the side where someone would climb up on it. So this is looking good. I want to now move in and start making the wireframe for the arms and the back of this. To do so, I want to be able to draw vertically, and I want to be able to make some vertical lines on this. I might go to one of the side views. I'll go to the left-hand side view, and I could make a simple rectangle that would be 24 inches by 24 inches. It's going to go down, and I could then take that and move it up and look at my results in 3D. So I've got something on the side. Not perhaps exactly what I want. I might want this height for the back of the chair, but I don't really want that for the side. But now I can use this, and I can start to, let's say I'll take this and I'll explode it, and I can take one edge and I can subdivide that again. I can subdivide it by distance. And I could say that I actually want the arm of this to be 14 inches. I can start to use this and just divide it in different ways. I can make a line that is at the midpoint, so something that would be 12 inches high. We know that this was 24 inches in width. And I can delete some of the other parts of this. I want to have a radiused fillet on this side where the armrest is. So I'm going to take the curves that I've just created, and I'm going to use a fillet command, and I want the radius to be about 4 inches, so I could type in 4 inches, and then select 2 curves, and it will radius them. If you don't find that they are trimmed or joined when you do that command, make sure to look up here in the command line and make sure that join or trim say yes and not no, so that it will go and radius that. And the back of our chair will be 24 inches high. And actually what I'm going to do now is take the geometry that we have for one arm of the chair, and I'm going to mirror that across the top of the chair from midpoint to midpoint. So it goes to the other side. I'll place one more line segment across the top of the backrest. And again, I think I will use a fillet command to fillet the corners of this with 4-inch radii. Now I have some extraneous points floating around. I can go to my select command and I can say select all points. I can delete points. I don't need them anymore. And what I have is a wireframe for the basic structure of the chair. I also don't need the square at the bottom that I started with, but I want the square at the top and all of the other geometry. So I have a wireframe that I can now select. I can join together. It won't actually all join into one thing. It will join the parts that it can join, which is fine. I'm going to now take all of those points that I'm going to take all of those curves that I joined, and I'm going to group them, Control G, so that I can select them all as one wireframe. And I'm going to use the solid pipe command in order to take all of this centerline geometry and turn it into solids. And I want to give this a radius of 1/2 inch so that the overall diameter of these pipes will be 1 inch. And if you select the entire group before you initiate the pipe command, as I just did, it will pipe everything at once. If you select the pipe command first and then start selecting geometry, it will ask you to select all of the different individual polylines that make up that group. So one lesson here is to use the group command to take your entire wireframe and make it into one thing, pre-select it, and then initiate the pipe command, and it will pipe everything all at once. The pipes themselves will still be individual poly surfaces, right? But it's just a way to kind of quickly create the pipes. So the first step is done, and in the next video we'll work on adding a nice curvilinear seat to this and making some final modifications to the lifeguard tower. Thank you.